This is House Planning Help episode 217. Hello, I'm Ben Adam Smith, and this is the podcast for you if you're interested in self-build, because I'm exploring what houses we should be building in the 21st century and try to break down the major roadblocks that may get in our way. Coming up in this session, my guest is my wife, Kay. Yes, that's right. What do you do when your partner says, I want to build a house? It's possible you've been in this situation, not both of you wanting to go down the same road. How did we overcome that? We're going to have a chat about that in a few moments. I often use this early part of the podcast to share a resource if I have one, or something that I think you might enjoy. Well, today we can actually tick both boxes there, because my friend Mike Coe has just released the second report in the Portree Passive House saga. Self-build project. So this one, Mike is a retired ITV news cameraman. He helped me produce the documentary The Future of Housing. He's a character. He loves comedy as well, so he mixes all of this into his video reports. This isn't entirely on self-build. In fact, there's quite a lot on where they are, the Isle of Skye. He looks at a little bit of the history of the island and throws in a few bits and pieces. So I asked this question: why does the second report feature Harry Styles of One Direction fame flying, Muir burning, and Richard Dimbleby? There's only one way you can get your answer, and that's to watch the latest report. We'll put a link in the show notes. You might think today's podcast guest would be an easy one to secure. Well, I'm not so sure, because my wife Kay hates being recorded in any capacity. However, throughout our self-build, little by little I've recorded snippets here and there with her. You've heard them on the podcast, and now we can upgrade to a full-blown interview. The timing feels right too. The house is watertight, we're plastered internally, it's the second fix going on, a lot of decisions behind us now, and I thought it'd be good to review things from her side. She never wanted the new house. In fact, her ideal home is a period property.
A beautiful old thatched cottage in a beautiful, well-established country garden.
And why do you have that in your mind, or why is it something desirable?
Because it's full of character.
That's it, full of character?
Yeah, I love character and I love a house with soul.
Okay, when I proposed the idea of building a house, what did you think?
That you wanted to build an eco house, which immediately made me think of a modern looking box with metal roofs and wooden panels.
And did you like the idea of building a house?
Hadn't really thought about it.
But were you wanting to go with it, or did you ever think about opposing and trying to get me to go into the thatched cottage?
I was a little disappointed, because you used to have the same vision as me. But I knew it was something you wanted to do.
So did you do this because of me?
Yes.
Okay.
Completely.
Love you. I don't think it was even in 2012 when I perhaps said I wanted to build a new house. It was after a couple of years of research and realising how tricky it would be to make an older property up to the same standard, and just life would be so much easier if you're building new. You've got that chance to get everything right. So yeah, land first of all. It was hard, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was quite exciting looking for the land, but then quickly became disillusioned because it was too difficult. Everything that came up was, it just had something wrong with it, or anything that looked perfect, you were up against developers, and it just seemed futile.
Do you have any tips for getting a good site?
Just do your research before you go out there. We looked at sites that had leaseholds. The land had leaseholds, and that immediately should just ring, the alarm bells. Check out the neighbours around it, see what the other houses are. A lot of times planning permission would say no, because they just had bungalows all around it, and if you wanted to build a house, they wouldn't let you. Just do a lot of research really before you go out, and check out Google Earth. Google Earth and Street View were very useful to get a better idea of what was around it.
What do you think our strengths are in, this can be our whole process, both you and me, when it comes to building a house?
Our strengths?
Or do you want me to say what I think your strengths are?
Well, I like organising. I like doing my sheets and ticking things off. I like to do things in a process. I like to project manage. So that's probably my strength, is I keep on top of things and I make sure things run smoothly and on time and on budget.
And that is what your previous jobs have been as well, hasn't it? In project managing and
pretty
in
much
marketing.
exactly it. Yeah, keeping it on brand and in budget and on time.
That is a really valuable thing to bring to the table, because I have been very grateful that I haven't had to do all those spreadsheets. In fact, it would have been very interesting to see what would happen if I'd just been on my own in this process when it came to all these decisions, because I'm quite happy to make the decisions, but less happy to do all that stuff of putting them into a spreadsheet, working out
600 lines of a spreadsheet.
What have you enjoyed most in the process?
Seeing the house progress.
Yeah, that's quite an easy one. I think you quite enjoyed the interior design too.
Yes and no.
Oh, that's interesting. Yes and no.
There's too much choice. I know what I like when I see it, but I can't put it together in the first place. So I've enjoyed working with an interior designer who's sent me things to look at, and I've gone, absolutely, that is gorgeous. I love it. I love looking at Pinterest. But without her help, it was too overwhelming.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of her expertise. And I think what I have loved most of all, whether she loves us for doing this, is those little decisions where you're just not sure. And you say, Gabby, what do you think of these two things?
I think she hates us now.
Yeah, she probably does. But it has been very, very useful. And I think I'm also enjoying seeing it come together later down the line. Because it's one thing, we've got all these mood boards, and I'm never quite 100% sure. It's not a sketch up of all of those things have been put together in the room, and you can look at the whole room and think, it's her ideas of, oh, this is a nice fabric, this is a nice cushion, this is da-da-da-da-da-da.
But that's how I used to work in the design industry.
Oh, right. Okay, I didn't know that.
We used to put mood boards together and concepts, and I can see it, I can visualise it. I just can't put that mood board together.
So this process, let's dig into it a bit, because you've done a lot of the work here of specifying. What exactly have you been doing from chatting to her to working out what we've got to buy?
Well, she would pin things on Pinterest, and I would then find the item that she suggested, things that we liked. I would then have to do a Google search for it. I'd find the item. I'd go onto that web page. I'd copy the description, I'd copy any measurements, I'd copy the price, I'd copy the link, any colours, and I'd put those into the Excel spreadsheet. And
sometimes as well, on bigger items, perhaps not the small ones, we've checked out what those things are too, haven't we, in physical, to feel it and to touch it and see what those things are.
Things like the bathrooms, the showers, the big ticket items, and the sofas.
And the sofas, yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Well, we haven't got them yet.
No.
As such, hopefully we'll be able to afford them at that stage.
But I did enjoy that shop. It was a lovely shop.
So you've enjoyed the shopping?
Yes. And the parcels arriving. It's like Christmas.
Christmas every single day with different things coming in. When we went into this process, was there anything that you were concerned about? Because this can be a relationship wrecker. It can send you, it has sent us crazy on budget.
I had a couple of friends whose parents or the friends themselves, their marriages have actually dissolved over building a house. But those people built it themselves. They lived on site or in the house as it was being built. They had to put up with limited cramped conditions, and they were literally building the house themselves, and it caused a lot of arguments. I wasn't concerned, partly because we're strong enough and we've been through quite a lot already, but also we were living away from the site, which was why it was very important to me that we rented close but not on site. That was part of my conditions, particularly having a preschooler and being pregnant. I didn't want to live on site in a caravan. I didn't want to have bad living conditions. I wanted to be able to live as normally as possible and build the house on the side, which obviously not everyone can do.
What do you think has been the lowest moment, and has it really been a low, or has it just been children?
No, there haven't been any low moments, I don't think.
It's funny, isn't it, that I think there are a few factors behind this. One is going the full package from the architect and the contractor. So we know what we're getting for the money that we're paying. Also, being able to rely on the finance, I think has been quite good, knowing that if we'd gone over budget, it wasn't, it would make things more complicated, definitely. Anything else you can think of that has helped us?
Well, I think we've just been incredibly lucky and fortunate. Like you say, we've got the finance. I think that puts a lot of stress on people. And we've got very supportive family who have looked after our children when we've needed to.
I also think it's been spread out. So it's not as if I've felt at any one time everything has to be done, which sometimes if you're taking on a project yourself, it doesn't move on unless you do a certain amount.
There have been points like that. A couple of months ago, being a case in point, was just, it felt like decisions were all in our ball court and we were holding things up. And that's quite stressful when you only have maybe 4 hours a week to get things done, when one child is at preschool and the other child's asleep, and you've quickly got to get everything done while they're asleep. But that seems to have eased off again. And that is where, we've been really lucky that the parents can come down and help sometimes.
How much have you enjoyed the process?
Enjoyed's a funny word. It just seems a bit surreal. It just feels like a job to me.
In terms of time as well, a lot of time. I keep thinking, what must this be like to do in other ways? We're going the easiest route and it's just sucked up the time.
As I say, I've enjoyed seeing the house progress, and I get excited every time I go down and see something else that's been done.
What have you learnt about building a house?
Ooh, in what way?
Well, I could say that through the process I've learnt about how to make it energy efficient. I have learnt about how to, translate mood boards into specification lists. I've seen all sorts, I could go on and on with what I've learned, but is there anything that you had in your mind when I first said to you, here's a good idea, let's build a house, versus what it's actually been like?
No, it's pretty much gone as I thought it would. Possibly just the process of the stages of how it's built. But even then, that's pretty much how I thought. So no, it's gone how I thought it was. Probably more smoothly than I thought it would. After watching things like Grand Designs, we haven't, touch wood, come across too many hiccups. And also, the other thing is, it's not just supportive family. I do think we've got a very good builder, and we've got very good architects on hand, and a very good interior designer. We have a good team of people.
Yeah, I think that you've got it spot on there. And what do you think have been the most important decisions that we've made? Because I would say, we've pointed out architect, builder, having good people, definitely. Any other important decisions? Actually, I'm going to add another one here. The land, that perhaps it was a mistake, but also it was our only opportunity, that we've got a big piece of land, so we had to build a big house. Any other important decisions you can think of?
Well, I think when we were drawing the house up with the architect, the first design they did we loved, but it wouldn't pass planning permission. So we had to make some important decisions and compromises, unfortunately, in did we want the house to step up in 3 different sizes, or did we go with the cat slide roof on the back so that we got to keep one level, but it meant that some of the rooms would lose some of their design. We had to change the pitch of the roof. So I think probably the biggest and the most important decisions were to do with the design of the house.
I think that all of those I'm very happy with and very pleased with the house that we've got. Is there anything in the process that you regret, any decisions that you think, if only I could go back and change that?
Checking the back door.
I knew that was coming. Hinges on the wrong side. Yeah, that was just something that slipped through.
Well, at least
all
we
of
checked
us.
the front door.
Yes. Well, we checked everything, but we must have
No,
missed
but we
that.
missed the front door as well, and it's only because
Did we?
we almost had the wrong front door ordered. We almost had the exact front door that I absolutely can't stand.
That was lucky. Well done for spotting that
And
one.
that's
See,
a very
things like
expensive
that
door.
I would say is a skill that sometimes when you're really busy, I don't want to go through all these tiny specifications and all the rest of it. And you would just, late at night, doesn't matter what time it is, say, right, let's go through this now. And I go, oh, great.
Well,
But that is a skill of not procrastinating, just getting on and doing it. Would you say that you've changed as a person through this?
I've got more stressed. But I don't think that's the house build exclusively. I think that's having a baby and a house at the same time. One that doesn't sleep.
Well, I'll tell you something I've noticed. You would never, ever have done an interview like this before the house build. So why? What's changed?
You
No, it's not. I don't
forced
think
me
you
into it.
I have not forced you. I gave you a choice.
No, you did. You forced me into it.
Yeah, right. It feels like we've gone past the stage where a lot of the decisions have been made. No doubt there'll be little ones creeping out of the woodwork. What are you looking forward to?
Moving in.
Obviously. What are you looking forward to?
Moving in.
What aspect of it?
Just getting into the house that we've been thinking about and drawing and choosing things for, and just being in there, having the space, getting the kids into their room. I want to get the garden done as soon as feasibly possible because I'm an outdoor person and I want my kids to be able to have a beautiful garden space to run around in.
Is there anything that you're concerned about as we move into a bigger house that has been entirely tailored to us? All that lovely furniture?
Well, yes, I'm going to be extremely precious, which isn't great with a 4-year-old boy. I'm worried that I might not like it once I'm in. Just because when you walk into a house that's already there, you always get a feeling for it. And it can look like the perfect house on paper, but you walk in and it doesn't feel right. So that is a concern because obviously you can't walk in and get a feel for a new build when it's not there.
But do you not also think that we've brought this one into being? I know exactly what you're saying. In many ways, I think I'm going through the same thing, that it's just all so surreal. But I think this one is down to us. First of all, we brought it into the world, so we know exactly why it's been built the way it's been built. But I am hoping that we can bring lots of people in. We've got space, so as many relatives and so forth who want to stay,
So
get
long
them
as
all
they
in.
all take their shoes off.
Oh God! Now this is what I'm waiting.
And no red wine.
No red wine. Yeah, red wine maybe. We'll have to say that. Oh, okay, let's go out to the garden, shall we? In the middle of December. It's funny having been in really, you could say, cramped houses. I've never viewed them like that, but 60 square metres to now
Oh, they've been lovely,
226.
yeah. They've been lovely houses.
They've been homes to us.
They have. They've been really nice, but possibly just not quite enough space once the family starts growing. That always used to annoy me in the smaller houses, was the lack of storage space, and it felt like I was forever sorting and tidying things because things get messy very quickly when you've got too much stuff for the space. So I'm looking forward to the space, definitely, and having things look nice.
Yeah. And for me, it's not about the size of it. The size was largely dictated by the land. I'm going to enjoy it, but I can be happy in, I think, any house. It's just, it's about how we're going to live in it. And I think that's not determined yet. We don't know how that's going to go. But,
I don't think it's excessively large. I think all the rooms are a pretty decent size. And I remember when we designed our master bedroom that the architect said it's quite possibly one of the smallest master bedrooms.
Really?
Most people want an absolutely huge room.
No, that's quite big enough.
And we were, well, actually, no, we don't want massive rooms because you knock around in them. They don't feel very cosy.
And I think for our life stage as well, if we're going to have a big house, this is the time to have it, because all of the space except for that one guest room will be used virtually every single day, as far as I can make out.
And our friends all have children, so if they want to come to stay, we need more than one room. And our parents are still in a stage of their life when they can come and visit. So that would be nice to have the parents come and stay, finally. And nearly 40, well, I will be 42 years old. It'll be the first Christmas we've ever hosted.
Wow, yes, that will be fun. Well, we've hosted them before, but it's been
Not
small,
really,
isn't it?
not
Not many
properly.
people, no.
No, we can now host properly, and I'm looking forward to paying that back to our parents.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And we've also got the special ground floor rooms that can be wheelchair accessed
Yeah.
and so forth.
Large showers.
Large showers, everything. We're ready for you if you need it. Just finally then, maybe we could come back to the beginning, and someone else is setting off on this journey. Their partner has said they want to build a house. What advice would you give to that person?
Allow lots of time and allow lots of money, and don't allow it to get on top of you. Just remember, at the end of the day, it's a house.
And enjoy the journey, because
Yeah.
I think I've thoroughly enjoyed this, although I can't see myself doing another self-build until circumstances change, if we had to move somewhere else.
I'm not planning on moving.
You're not, but we don't know. This is what we've said before. We don't know what's going to happen in the new house.
Yeah,
I'm not planning on moving either.
No, the amount of time and effort and love that's gone into that house,
Exactly.
I'm not planning on moving for quite some time. Yeah, as I say, I think we've just been very lucky, actually. There haven't been any major dramas with it, and we've been able to live away from it, and it's all progressed really smoothly. But sometimes things get a bit on top of you and it all feels a bit too much, but you've just got to take a step back and think, it's not life or death here. It's a house, all right. My bathroom is a bit too small for my liking. I wish I'd have checked the bath sizes before we agreed the bathroom size.
Well, I think this is a key point in terms of measuring up. We didn't do that. If we'd gone into other people's homes or gone to, say, the Popham Show Centre where they give you a plan of all the dimensions of every single room, and then you can decide, actually, this is a good size room. And then when you get those dimensions back from the architect, you can have something to compare against.
We did. We looked at your parents' house and we measured up all their rooms against ours. And there were some concerns, but we were limited. Our house isn't as big as their house. We haven't got the same amount of space. So you had to make compromises. But all I needed was probably another 10 centimetres.
That can be with the back door hinges.
And yes, with the back door hinges. But like I say, at the end of the day, it's a house. It's not life or death. It's still going to be a far nicer bathroom than I've ever had before. And we're incredibly lucky to have such a beautiful house. So I think I can live with it. First world problems.
And this has been your first interview. Has it been really difficult?
No.
No, it's easy, isn't it? Lovely. Thank you, darling.
Love you.
Love you.
We've cobbled together a few notes for today's session, and you can find them online, houseplanninghelp.com/217. Just completed another couple of presentations at the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre as part of their summer show. I always enjoy doing these, and I was telling everyone there, this is the first time I've been able to show actual pictures of the house, construction photos, because in the past it's either been designs or in the early days just pipe dream. So one of the things when you do these talks at the end, you often get people coming up to you, perhaps they've got a comment or a question, and you can always tell the ones who've been listening to the podcast or watching videos of yours on YouTube. This was exciting this time. Hello to Jonathan Mooney, who came up and said a big thank you because he's just hired Nick Grant and Charles Grills for his project, and he found out about them on the podcast. So I said to him, you're in safe hands there. Doesn't get much better than that. So good to meet you. Also, Hub members Andrew and Judith. Now, it's one thing in the Hub, we like a sense of community. So there's a forum and we have these things called progress logs where everyone has a dedicated area of the Hub, which you maintain. Let us know what you're up to. We try and help you where we can. We've got the conference calls as well. So I know a lot about Andrew and Judith's project. And then to meet them, yeah, maybe we need to sort out our own event at some point where we can get all of the Hub members together. I think that could be a lot of fun. So Andrew and Judith, thank you very much. Just remember, if you've enjoyed this podcast or others like it, then there is a realm beyond. It doesn't stop here. Enter the Hub if you want full details on what it's all about. houseplanninghelp.com/join. Next time, Alex Baines is my guest. He's the self-builder behind Long Barrow, and we talk about what it means to stop a project midway through. He had financial difficulties, and I think he stopped way before he had to, but he could see that the money was going to run out. So now, a couple of years on, he's restarting the project again. What does all that mean? We will find out next time. Alex is always very open and honest, and we appreciate and love him for that. The House Planning Help podcast is produced by Regen Media, content that matters.